Hello and welcome back to another episode of Gaming the System, the podcast where three intersectional feminists examine gaming and games through a feminist lens. I'm your host for today, I'm Jem, and I'm here with my friends Alex and Matt. So before we get started, if you want to support us, you can subscribe to our Patreon at patreon.com/gaming the system for some exclusive content. Or you can send us a one-off donation via PayPal to our email address, wearegamingthesystem@gmail.com.
I'm gonna jump in now with my one actually, just because it follows on nicely. Because my choice was the Baldur's Gate 3 chat we had with Finn. And that was just you and me, Alex, wasn't it? And Finn, and I really loved that. And I loved it just because we had such a funny conversation about romancing characters in Baldur's Gate 3. And I know that Finn was just really excited to talk about the romance side of the game, and was saying to me before we recorded, "Oh, do you think I can talk about that? Is it all right?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, absolutely. We have to talk about that because it's such a sort of key bit of the Baldur's Gate 3 experience." So it was really nice to have somebody who was so enthusiastic about the game and so knowledgeable and so interested. I know we're going to get Finn back to have another conversation, because that we recorded that back in January of this year. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
So we've all finished the game now. And so we've got a lot more to talk. Well, I think you're still in.
I'm like 95% of the way there, but we will make sure to do it over Christmas.
Yeah, that's your
I
homework.
hadn't played it yet.
Yes. Yeah.
I hadn't actually played it.
You've not played it?
No, you haven't.
When
No,
you'd
you
recorded that
haven't,
episode,
had
I
you?
hadn't actually played it
That's
yet.
why
That's
you
I
didn't join,
do
wasn't it? Yeah.
You did it super speedily compared to me. Yeah.
No, I think it's going to be really interesting to see how Finn and Matt talk about it. We might, you and I, Alex, might just be able to sit back.
We'll just
and
be
let them.
onlookers on the side. Yeah.
So that was my episode.
So one thing I do want to bring up, because I have teased you a fair bit, Jem, for having sex with the Emperor, and I realised I'm being a massive hypocrite.
I didn't personally have sex with the Empire. It was my character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I realised I've been a bit of a hypocrite because I romanced Karlach, and then Karlach volunteered to become a mind flayer in order to control Orpheus.
Wow.
And so I have to lane with a mind flayer, even though it was Karlach. And so I don't know if I was ink shaming. I came up with that a few weeks ago, and I thought, ink shaming. I like that. Because but I wanted to say that now to get it off my chest, because I want to apologise for teasing you when I've been a massive hypocrite. Because it's okay. It's okay.
It definitely gave me pause for thought, that scene. Where
I just don't like the Emperor.
No,
I just really don't like him.
I mean, it's hard because there are certain scenes where it's super persuasive, and you're like, should I, or should I not? I was stuck for a good 10 minutes, trying to debate it. It's tricky. That's the skill of the game, though. It gives you lots of confusing plot points. So.
My character just went along with it because she was a bit gun ho. She was basically like, "Yeah, what the hell? I've got a worm in my head. How bad can it get?" So that was kind of she did take some. She was generally good, but she definitely took some interesting choices at times. So I'm sure that Finn has something to share for almost every occasion. So we'll look forward to more on the topic of Baldur's Gate next year. So yeah. So Matt, what about you? What was your favourite episode of the last year?
So I did an episode and a conversation again. Probably my favourite conversation was when Alex and I talked about the Kansas City Chiefs kicker Harrison Butker doing his sort of like guest speaker at his alma mater university, and he just went on for 20 minutes about how the sin of diversity and the just that gay people are going to hell and trans people are monsters, and just this completely wild speech that no one had any idea that he was going to do. And then I just read parts of the speech to Alex, and Alex, you have a particularly fun expression that you pull whenever something horrifies you, or is
very expressive. So that's a hint to all of our audio listeners to go and find the YouTube video there.
Yeah,
it was a very shocking speech, to be fair. But yeah,
it's one of those things. Another thing where I go, "This is wild, right?"
Mm-hmm.
And then I can just I like when I'm reading something to the two of you and you both go, or just visibly shocked. I enjoy that kind of research, and as with the episode itself was semantics and gendered language.
Yes.
That was my favourite because I love language, and we talked about swearing for the first half of it pretty much, and I got to talk about the gendered nature of swearing and how it's a good idea to be deliberate with the way that you swear and curse, to actually have some just some thoughts about it, like what you say and why you say it. And there are plenty of ways to be insulting or swearing that are as creative and as impactful that aren't based in like the female anatomy, like Jem, I remember you saying that.
That's right.
A massive amount of curse words are to do with a woman's body, which still blows my mind. And yeah, that swearing conversation was really good, and
I think it got quite a lot of reaction from people on the internet as well, which was something that doesn't happen a lot with our content generally. But that was quite interesting because it kind of proved our point as well. Some of the comments, which definitely shows that we need to be having more of these conversations.
Yeah, just anything that I haven't seen a conversation about anywhere. Those are the ones that I appreciate the most that we get to do.
Absolutely. Okay, so I'm just going to throw in I'll do that at the end. So next we'll look at what topic we'd love to cover in 2025.
Well, I've got two things in my notes, and one thing I'd like to cover, because I think there will be more coming out in the future, is when games meet film and TV. And we've all touched on the episodes around The Last of Us. We did some episodes on the Fallout TV series, but there's going to be plenty more coming. I know that they're making a God of War, which is going to be absolutely epic, hopefully. But I really love those conversations because it shows that how popular gaming is becoming as a medium, that it's now having adaptations made that are moving into television and film, and that is also bringing people who don't game into gaming as well. And I just think that's really exciting to talk about, and just also to have other iterations of video game characters that we love, or video game worlds that we love, and seeing the creative response to those in lots of different mediums is something I find really exciting. So I'm really excited to talk more about that. And then the second thing I put in my notes that I'd like to do more of for next year, which is something I think you've already mentioned, Jem, and that's doing more streaming or gaming together. Because I've really enjoyed playing Chain together in the couple of times that we've done that. So finding a way for us all to do more gaming together would be really fun. But I appreciate it's hard because I do not have a shiny, super speedy PC. So we're going to have to find games that are cross-play, but I'm sure we can make it work, hopefully.
I love those ideas. Yeah, tick.
Yes.
What about you, Matt?
Have any of you seen any of the Secret Level show or
I've heard of it? Isn't that the
I've heard of it.
wasn't that announced at the Game Awards this year?
It was released. The first half. So I think there's 16 episodes. They released the first half yesterday.
Is it on Amazon Prime or is it on Netflix or
Amazon Prime?
Okay, cool.
And they're 15 to 20 minute. It's an anthology of 15 to 20 minute short animated stories from, and each episode is from a different game.
Oh, I should definitely watch that.
I've watched 2 so far. One was a Warhammer 40k one, and the second one was an Armored Core one. Okay. And Keanu Reeves is the character in the Armored Core one, cool. And he's this junky Armored Core pilot who's addicted to being in the Armored Core and doing it. And it goes to show, and they're only 15 and 20 minutes long, and it just shows you take this tiny little snippet. It doesn't all have to be live action stuff. That if people are making TV shows out of it, if it looks like this, people could, anything's possible with that kind of thing. And it was just really good, those 2 episodes. And it brings me on nicely to what I'd like to talk about next year, which is we've done writing women and rebooting women. I want to do writing men and rebooting men, because another very fun conversation we had was me and Alex talking about Space Marine 2.
Yes.
And I'm still stunned at how appalling the writing is of the Space Marines and how just thick they all come across as. Because they just yeah. If you want to know how I feel about that, you can go and listen to that episode. But in this, so I watched probably a 15-20 hour stream of some gamers playing it, and so just heard all the writing that they had done. It was just they just come across as just poorly written. Thick is the only word I can come to think of about it. But in this 15-minute, 20-minute awesome little short story, there are about 10 lines spoken in it, the entire 20-minute thing. And by the end of it, you're going, oh, these Space Marines are the coolest thing ever. It's impossible for anyone not to watch it and go, Space Marines are awesome. The action's awesome and it's really cool. And it just points out that these are the same. One of the characters in it is the main character from Space Marine 2. And he says one line in it, and you go, oh, that's awesome. And all you need to do is just not have... Sometimes you just need to not have as many words written.
Yeah.
Just have someone be quiet and cool. And that's so much better than a lot of bullshit writing. And I want to examine the actual words that are spoken by male characters a lot. And my sister started playing the Uncharted trilogy, the original one, and there's a rape joke in the first 3 minutes.
Is there? I'd forgotten about that.
Because it's when him and his wife
to be
which is funny because I was looking back through the episode that was the.
And we couldn't think of her name, could we?
We couldn't remember her name. Yeah, I can't remember her name
I
again.
I remember now.
Bland wife to be.
Yeah.
And it's the two of them on her boat, having found Nathan Drake's coffin. Nathan Drake, whatever his name's, Drake's coffin, and then pirates are coming, and they say, "Oh, the pirates, they want the ship, and they don't take prisoners, not male ones anyway." And you go, "Oh, okay." So they're going to kill him and rape her, was what that seems to be. So you go, Jesus Christ. And I look back and think, right, what else have I missed over the last 20 years of my gaming that just comes across like that? And then on the rebooting side of things and remaking, characters like Kratos, these ones that have the characters that they are now compared to the characters they were in the first instant of their gaming, how does that evolution compare to the kinds of remakes and reboots that female characters get? And yeah, that's another area where I want things to be better. And there's a lot of space for me to be really angry, because language I'm so enthusiastic about language, and when it's used poorly, it hurts my soul.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, language is so important. So important, and I think people consistently underestimate it. So yeah. I would really like for us to talk about um get how do parents talk to their kids about gaming, because I think that that's an area that's really difficult, and I think that with the advent of more online gaming spaces and these new rules that are coming in about what can and can't be, who can and can't play, and all of that sort of thing, I think there needs to be parents need to be better educated about what their kids are doing online, and what games they're playing and what spaces they're inhabiting, because as we talk about all the time, those spaces and those games are not always teaching the right lessons or the lessons that you might want your children to be learning. And as Matt's saying, language is important, communication is essential. You know, we have to be able to talk to our young people about what they're being exposed to, you know, whether it's violence, and you know, weird sex in computer games, or it's sexism and misogyny in online forums. You know, we have to be able to talk about that. But if parents aren't aware, if they don't know what their kids are doing, they don't know what their kids are playing, they don't know what Roblox is, they don't know what Overwatch is, they don't know what um, World of Warcraft is, or any of those things that people are doing online, then they can't have those conversations with them. They can't check in with them, and until it's become a problem. And so I do think that there's a real gap for talking to parents about how to talk to kids about gaming. So I also think that there's a lack of understanding of how gaming, in the way that kids these days experience gaming, which is from like the age of 3, how that affects them, how the dopamine and all of those things can impact children growing up with that, and what kind of adults they're going to be as a result of that. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, I just don't think there's enough conversation about it. So that's my wish list episode for next year.
and different parents to. It's not as simple like the. I've been gaming for 25 years and I haven't got a clue how Roblox works.
No.
Me neither.
And it's how parents who never played any games in their lives, and if they've got a kid who plays Roblox, is that how do you bridge that gap?
Yeah.
Because
exactly.
if someone's playing God of War, I can understand that because I understand what God of War is.
Funnily enough, actually, one of my hairdressers at the salon I go to was talking about, because she asked about the podcast, and I said, oh, and she was asking about what games I played, and she said, oh, do you play Roblox? And I said, no, I don't know what that is. And she started explaining it to me, because she said she actually plays it with her kids to kind of just try and see what is happening and understand it. So she understands like much more than I do, because she's taking the time to actually play it with her kids, and her kids want her to play it with them as well, which is really good, I think, because it helps with that sort of situation. But again, like you say, Matt, not all parents are going to be that way inclined, and or their kids might not want them to be playing it with them either. So yeah, it's an interesting conversation to have, and I'm looking forward to it.
I really want to play Roblox, but I've been banned from it by my daughter.
Have you?
So, I mean, obviously I could get around that. But yeah, it's I think it is. That's a really good approach that she's taking. You know, playing it with your kids is an excellent thing, and we've talked a lot about how, you know, families playing games together is a really positive thing to do. So I think there is definitely that, and I hope that. My hope is that as you know, as all of us, as we're not your archetypal gamers, we're a little bit older than your archetypal gamers, and I think my hope is that by doing the podcast, we're demonstrating to other people out there that you don't have to be a sort of 18-year-old teenage boy, you know, to game. And it is something we talk a lot about, how it's for everyone and how it's a positive thing for everyone. And I think that's, you know, another thing that I hope that our podcast opens up people to that option of maybe exploring those things. So what I wanted to just end on, we've just got about 5-6 minutes left. So what I wanted to just end on, our final thoughts, is what have you learned from the last year of doing the podcast? Is there anything that's kind of come to you that you hadn't thought about in that way, or that you feel has, just adapted your way of thinking, perhaps?
Streaming has been the biggest thing for me.
Streaming, yeah.
Just getting started again with Chain Together, and then that helped me get my foot back in the door to do the streaming that I've done, because it's one of those things you just need to do it until you're comfortable. Well, that's been my experience. And until you're comfortable with it, it's harder to get yourself to do, because it's an unknown thing, and there are so many professionals everywhere. It's easy to look at and go, oh, I'm not as good as them, so I won't bother starting. But there's a tremendous amount of, it's a different way to play games, and I'm loving that massively, because it's getting me to play a different kind of game I would normally play, and I wouldn't have done that without Gaming the System.
That's good. It's tricky for me to think of anything I've learnt, like, in a solid way, I suppose. But I think it's just reiterated, like, how, you know, that I think we should be really proud of what we've achieved this year in terms of, you know, what we've been doing consistently. We've done over 200 episodes. And I think sometimes I kind of forget, how much of an achievement that actually is, thinking about it day to day. And, we've done 2 live shows as well in the time that we've been podcasting together, which has been really fun. And I think it's definitely, I've learnt to kind of push myself to do more of that sort of thing, push myself outside of my comfort zone a little bit more, to, think about things from different perspectives as well. I think we often try and challenge ourselves to do that in the pod. But no, I think reflecting back on the year, I'm just really proud that we've done it. Because sometimes, when I'd be having little wobbles with my mental health and stuff, I'd be like, do I have enough time to do X, Y, and Z? Do I really want to do it? And then I have to sit back and think to myself, yes, this is definitely what I love to do, because, every time I finish an episode, I feel really buoyed and cheered up, and I'm like, oh, that was such a great conversation. I'm really looking forward to talking about X, Y, and Z with Jem and Matt, or like playing this game with them, or whatever else. So yeah, it's just nice to reflect on the podcast as being a really positive part of the year. Yeah.
Oh, that's so nice to hear.
Yeah.
Well, it segues onto my thing as well really nicely, which is that gaming is often viewed to be a solo experience, and I think what Gaming the System has really highlighted for me this year is how much of a community experience it can also be, that you can play the games on your own, but it's good to have some people to chat about them with. And so yeah, I think that for me it's having that community, and even if that community is just the 3 of us and our 62 followers or whatever, it's having that little community there that we can talk to about these things, and seeing things improving. I do think things are improving, and yeah, that's been really positive for me this year. And I think this has happened many times with Gaming the System, but it definitely has happened this year. Permission to game.
Yes.
Gaming is not a waste of time. It is an enjoyable hobby that is, a positive thing for the most part. I think that's a really nice note to end this episode on. And we're recording this before Christmas, but I think it's going to be out afterwards. So we're all off to have a lovely Christmas, hopefully. And hopefully you've had a lovely Christmas. And we will be with you every Thursday as usual with something. And I'm pretty sure that you're going to see some of the episode wish list that we've just talked about today coming up over the next year. So, and if there are any episodes that you thought were excellent from the last few years, or topics that you think we should absolutely cover, or that we should revisit, there's no harm, no shame in going back and looking at something again. Then let us know, leave a comment, and yeah, we'll see you very soon. Thank you.